family right here. I've got brothers in this room. That's my job. It's supposed to be yours, too. It's a bullshit job, Greg muttered. Come again? James's eyes narrowed. It's a bullshit job, Greg repeated. I mean, how can you think that this is actually what life is all about? Fighting for a bunch of guys who don't even need saving? There's a movement going on out there, man. Greg held his arm out to the heavy wooden door. And we've got power dripping from our fingertips right now. What's the point if we don't use it to change something? What the hell are we doing otherwise? We're doing exactly what we were meant to do, James snapped. We're doing what the guys before us did for us. The Ivies were never created to save the world, and I'm not going to sit here trying to explain that shit to you for the 50th time. Join the Peace Corps if that's what you want. We're here to protect what we've built exactly where we are, and that's what we're going to do. A supportive murmur rippled through the chapel. Boys who agreed with James or were too afraid to admit they didn't. It was safer that way, keeping things how they'd always been. Their small town, their small school, their small club. Everything they could ever want in the palms of their hands. Ivies protecting Ivies since 1923. Greg had argued with them for days. He showed them headlines, he regurgitated facts, he called upon their egos. Do they want the world to know the Ivies, or just the same old people in the same old place? But none of it worked. None of them cared. And the anger that had once been loud, fiery, boiling, had settled in now into something that just existed, that Greg accepted. Well, I'm not going to do what you guys are going to do, Greg answered. But it didn't work that way, not in groups like theirs. James squinted. What did you say? I'm not doing it, Greg repeated. I'm not going to close my eyes and pretend like we need each other more than the world needs what we have. You guys have at it, but I'm not doing that. The air thickened as the boys watched Greg stand and walk up the aisle. They nudged each other, sat up straighter. Should somebody say something? But there was nothing to say. They wouldn't change, and neither would he. James called after him, eyes glaring and hands just barely shaking. This doesn't get to be all about you, Jack Lawrence. Tell me about it, Greg answered. Hey. James's voice was sharp as he stood and walked over to where Greg had been sitting. Greg stopped at the end of the aisle, but he didn't turn around. So James kicked the cooler just enough to make the ice slosh, enough to make Greg flinch. You don't get to choose when you're with us or against us. Do what you want, but there's no in between. Either you always are, or you never were. James walked back to the altar and sat, and the room relaxed, because they knew Greg would turn around, go back to his pew, finish his beer. Nothing was better than the Ivies. No one left, no one quit. Until the day Greg Jack Lawrence slid his hands into his pockets, pressed his shoulder against the chapel door, and let it swing shut behind him. Today. Life starts all over again when it gets crisp in the fall. F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby. Kady. Sunday, October 25th. 55 days before the ball. Someone's following me. I don't turn around, but I feel them there, watching, stepping when I do and breathing the same crisp air. From the corner of my eye, I see a shadow slant with mine, stretched extra tall under the morning sun. A car taps its horn, and I veer from the middle of the road to the right side, the way we've been trained in the neighborhoods with no sidewalks. The car is an old Volvo, and the driver waves as she passes. I don't actually know her, but Streetlight is small. She wouldn't just drive off if some guy behind me had an axe. I don't think. I walk a little faster.